Well, hello there, how is everyone? I hope you're all well. Thought I'd sneak in a third. That's right, this is video 3 of 3, and how amazing is that? But not as amazing as you, because you are amazing. Have I told you recently? Oh, I think I have. But yeah, video 3 of 3. I had so much planned for today. Tattoos got cancelled, that's it. Cold and flu, which seems to be going around, so I can't complain too much. And also it would appear that the other half's car, yes, the Mini, for those of you who have been around the channel for some time and know that she's got this white Mini Countryman thing. It's a long running joke. She wanted a car, I got a car that she kept fucking her head on, then I changed it for another one that if she fell out of she'd have probably died. So then I ended up with this Mini, and yes, that's now playing up. So we've been looking at a replacement car today. So nothing's gone as planned. But anyway, I digress. I know you don't want to hear about my woes, so I'm going to crack on, get on, as we talk about the fact that Dylan Mortensen's dad has apparently been speaking. He has had a discussion, another book, someone else writing a book. Not going to go into who's writing the book. I'm not going to go into the title of the book. All I know is there is a book, and yes, and we've all got thoughts and feelings about that. This case ain't even over. What is there to write about this? What is there to write about it? I think it's like As Idaho Slept or something, but that's what it's called. And it bewilders me. It bewilders me that there's people who are writing books about cases that are still ongoing. There's been no conclusion. We don't really know what's going on. So in theory, you could paint specific people in this book in specific ways, and then that book is going to look silly later on down the line, isn't it? And potentially there could be lawsuits being filed. Who knows? We can obviously speculate ourselves. That's all we can do. But he's spoken out and he's made some comments. And I've got some things to say about specific comments that were made, because let's not make no bones about it. There are certain reasons why we find ourselves in the position we're in today. He goes on to say that Dylan she's gaming, she's playing games with groups of friends. Now, it could just be that she doesn't want to talk to the friends that she had, which has been something that has cropped up a few times. I believe it may have even been Dave who said that Dylan had not, since all this had kicked off, that she had not spoken to anybody from Moscow, Idaho, the friends that she had around there. She kind of left the area and hasn't subsequently spoken to anybody from there. And it might just be that she is playing online with new people to try and interact. You know, we can't criticise her for that. I know some people have turned around and said she doesn't look like your typical gamer, which, to be fair, if you're not from that world, then yeah, you could say that she doesn't. But I do have a history in that world. At one point, I was administrator for the Discord server on the largest Fortnite group in the world. So, you know, we're talking about a big group. And I used to play, I was quite heavily in gaming, and at one point I did have a large YouTube gaming channel. The rest is history. But, so yes, Dylan doesn't look like someone you would potentially think that she's a gamer, but there are girls who don't look like gamers who are very good at gaming and in the gaming world. So it could be. The thing around this topic, what I feel is the odd thing, is the fact that she hasn't stayed in contact with anybody, seemingly stayed in contact with anybody that she was friends with prior to that. Or did she just not have any friends? Is nobody supportive of her from her old life? Because I'm pretty sure her age, for a start, you know, she differed in age from the victims, and I don't think that her life in terms of friends began and ended in 1122 King Road. So again, it just confuses me a little as to what has happened to any relationship that was forged in Moscow, Idaho, and is that still going? That's not kind of clarified. Anyway, let's move on to the next point, shall we? That she has she is seeking guidance. She is being mentally mended, and there's a statement that kind of makes it look like she could potentially be getting help from some cult. I'm sure it's not a cult. It was almost like it was a religious sector. But the way I look at it is like this. And I'm going to be absolutely blunt. If that girl had PTSD, for instance, there ain't no group that she's going to go to that is going to sort that out. If she genuinely is suffering in that way, which she could, at the end of the day, who are we to say that what she's suffering and how she's suffering? But from a PTSD kind of respect, she would need to go to somebody who specialises in dealing with PTSD. So when they say that she's getting help of sorts, and it's sort of a religious, almost like it's saying that it's coming from that kind of setting. And again, I'm paraphrasing to a degree because I kind of read between the lines, but it's almost like saying that she's going to like prayer groups or something. But look, she's getting help, she's getting guidance, she's getting assistance, and hopefully it's moving in the right direction. But the thing what got my back up was that they were talking about the bullying. And look, there was some comments made. There were some comments that was made by people who specifically was attacking whether she was transgender. And, at the end of the day, I think we can move on from that. I think that needs to be yoink, gone, and let's forget about it. But with regards to the bullying, like, it was stated that the online sleuths had pointed out that she was a drug dealer. And that's not true to what I can see. The only connection that was made with respect of narcotics was with the house in general. And the fact that there was people coming forward onto these platforms who apparently interacted with them. They'd been inside the house. They had partied with them. They had been inside 1122 King Road and had seen narcotic transactions. So, it wasn't people who were on channels just making stuff up. It was panels that consisted of people who claimed to have known these people, known these individuals, and spoken about it. And pair that with talking about activity from some of the parents, and it kind of, there was this overarching thing. I don't think there was anything, I haven't seen anything that specifically singled her out and said that she was a narcotics dealer. Obviously, we have contemplated the fact that could there have been something around this property that was to do with narcotics that could have spilled out into what we see in the Idaho 4 crime. Could there have been something happen? Bearing in mind that this isn't even focusing on Dylan, this is focusing more on other victims, actual victims. And what I mean by actual victims, people who lost their lives. They have deeper seated connections via their family in the narcotics world. And however people want to stick their head in the sand, that's just a fact. But Dylan isn't in the situation she's in because of any other reason than she was there at ground zero, at the place with which it all happened and it all went down. And the story with which she told, and we have been told, well, we've been told via court documents and, and second-hand, if you like, has led people to scrutinise what action she did and didn't take. The 8-hour delay. And do you know what I mean? Anyone in that position would have been scrutinised the same. Anybody. And I would almost go on to say that if this had have been a boy, a male, or someone of a specific ethnicity, not so much the young female, this would have gone a hell of a lot worse. A hell of a lot worse. And bearing in mind that there was an argument, if you like, that this should have been reported earlier, and the fact that it wasn't reported, and there seems to be enough evidence that would say that she was awake through this and she heard it. I don't think that anybody with a straight mind can turn around and say that she didn't hear anything, she didn't see anything, she didn't know what was going on, she was completely unaware of anything whatsoever. I don't believe that for 1 second, sadly, but that is only my opinion, and my opinion isn't worth anything, it's just my opinion. But yeah, you could ask why law enforcement haven't stepped in and actually questioned that deeper. Who knows? Who knows? But ultimately, there was this delay, and there were these stories from frozen shock phase, which you then have to think, well, why were you in frozen shock phase? And I know we've covered it, we're going over old ground, but again, I just want to make people understand when they hear this story about Dylan and the pain that she's going through and the things that have been said, anybody would have been questioned the same, because the story doesn't make sense. And when the story doesn't make sense, people will ask questions. And those questions are warranted. They are 100% warranted. You come out of your room multiple times. The actual time frame with which this crime evidently happened is purely based on your activities as an individual and that of the other surviving roommate, alluded to by talking about phone activity. And, you know, and the frozen shock phase statement, which would lead you to believe that you did indeed see something that put you in that state. And that state is not going to be, you're not going to go into that state just by seeing someone who you believe is an attendee of a party. That just isn't going to wash. So you either saw something that was enough to put you in a frozen shock phase, or you heard something bad enough to think, I'm shutting my door, I'm keeping the fuck out of this, and, you know, and the rest is history. But then you have to then think to yourself, how do I get myself out of this? So you make up this story about frozen shock phase. And again, this is just my opinion. There is no basis or standing or grounding in law at all, or, you know, anything other than my opinion. But I do struggle with the, did you hear anything? Did you not hear anything? Did you see anything? Did you not see anything? If you heard something but didn't see anything, why wasn't there a call made? Why, do you know what I mean? There should have been a call made earlier. There should have been. That delay, there was no excuse for it, and that's why Dylan is in the position she is in, because people can't get their head around it. And especially people with children, especially people who can sort of fathom what that would be like to have people in that position, if they had skin in the game, you know, they can understand why people are questioning it. I know there's some that don't think she should be being questioned, but it's very easy, again, when you do not have skin in the game, to not question anything and just go along with it. But I do hope that Dylan gets the help that she needs by the people who can genuinely help her, if she so needs the help. But equally, I do hope that during this process, as we are talking about putting a man to death, that if there are holes that need to be filled, blanks that need to be filled, that they are filled in their entirety. And if that means pulling scabs off old wounds, that is done so. Justice doesn't always look pretty, and it needs to happen. Just look at the Delphi case. Anyway, this was video 3 of 3. If you have only seen one today, then you've missed 2. Have a fantastic rest of your midweek hump, and I shall catch you all tomorrow.